Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys. So, we had a decent day, but most of our trades were in the morning, and middle of the day was we were just trying to preserve the capital. So there was not much. We did have some low float winners from our low float watch list and game plan. We will look at those as well and see how they went. But we had some good winners in the morning. We had some shorts and one small loser as well. We'll cover that as well. We'll take a look at all our winners and losers. There were a lot of plays today this morning, but we focused on few. SMCI was the main star winner. But special thing to discuss today is about the market, right? How we navigated the market, because market today went down, came back, and then went to the chop. But how we managed when it went down and when it went up, we managed and predicted it pretty accurately, and we were able to handle that. So before we start the recap of various plays, let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my YouTube, who's new to my Twitter X, or who's new to my community. All these trade ideas and all these teachings are from any trades that I share on Twitter, any guidance I'm giving on Twitter, or any ideas, trades or swings or investment ideas that I discussed in my previous YouTube videos. Most of it is coming from my community, our community Tanner Trade group, where we are all day active trading floor, and a lot of ideas I'm trading, a lot of ideas are from the community traders of our trading floor. So every day we have a game plan. We have a game plan, and we trade a fixed repeatable system, the system that thousands of traders across the world use to trade consistently. And that's what we use here. We do not trade random. We have a very fixed system, and we have very fixed setup. If there is no setup, we do not trade it. We always stick with our setups, the same setups again and again and again that I show you, and you can see on my Twitter as well, or you can go back and see all the videos from more than a year. Every recap every day, I recap this system and setup, because as long as you stick with the repeatable system and setups, you will have consistency, because then you will have small losers, but you will have big winners, because a setup will define what kind of trade you're going to take, and you are not going to make any rash mistakes or random trades, and we do not take any random trades. And so let's look at the game plan today. This was our game plan. There were a bunch of news today. Mara had a news, DJT, ASND, Apple, Target, Costco, Micron. A lot of these stocks had news, and a lot of them will not trigger. Some of them will trigger, and I will look at some of them which I see are good setups. Some of them will not do anything, but we have our general bias in the pre-market, where we create this, as our baseline to start the day. If the stock is under support and our system tells us it's bearish, we short it. But if stock reclaims the resistance pivot and it's over the clouds, then we go bullish on it, right? So we long it, and if it rejects the resistance pivot, we short it. So we use it in conjunction with our EMA, Ripster EMA clouds. I also shared in the morning what we call our day 2, day 3 setups. Nothing crazy from the day 2, day 2 setups, but we always look at these repeatable day 2, day 3 setups as well, which gives us a lot of opportunities to trade. Then in addition, I share the levels for everything: SPY, QQQ, IWM, Netflix, MBA, Amazon, Meta. All these levels help us to trade, which are based upon our we make them in pre-market. Either we want to go long or we're going to go short. Like this morning we were short on SPY. We'll take a look how we did that. And then of course we have our low float game plan. This is a game plan where we, with some of the low floats which we are watching, if it gives us a good risk reward entry versus our system, we take that. If they don't, we ignore them. So a lot of these setups we will discuss as well, and see. GNLN was a big winner from this watch list for us today, so we'll take a look at that as well. And then we have our crypto levels, right? We trade coin, MSTR, all these plays stocks every day if Bitcoin is strong, or if these stocks are moving on their own. Anyways, I'm on voice first few hours of the market open, guiding everybody through the market, what I'm looking at, bullish or bearish, making sure nobody's taking a wrong-sided trade at open. And we'll discuss. I'll show you how I guided the community to manage the trades this morning. So let's start. All right, so I'm going to start with SPY QQQ, and so proud of the execution today because we literally, nailed the execution this morning. We shorted the market into 10 a.m. I teach these concepts again and again, 10 a.m. concepts. So how did we short the market? Let's just look at the SPY levels for first. Let's go. So SPY support levels was 533 and QQQ support level was 450. So these were our support levels, but the SPY was already heavy even before breaking those support levels because it was breaking a level right here. I can zoom out for you guys so you can see that. It was right here, it was breaking the level. Similarly, QQQ was already heavy, but it was breaking a level, already breaking a level here. There's a 451, and then there's, of course, we had our 450 level, which was right here, somewhere here, right? So we definitely had these levels. So as the day opens, the first planning I gave everybody that it's all about VIX. If VIX holds 20, then that's a problem. If you see that, my guidance this morning to the community was, let's look at it, VIX breaks 20, downside will be long bias, right? Which it eventually did, and which gave us the trade, long trade eventually. But in the morning, it held 20 and it pushed towards 21. It held 20 and pushed towards 21. So if I show you my SPY QQQ guidance, let's look here. So as soon as the market open, I tell everybody SPY no strength. QQQ was having a little bit strength. Then I saw the heaviness in SPY. I said, yes, the short scalps are okay. It's heavy. Short scalps, still some room. Short scalp into the 10 a.m. We always cover at the 10 a.m. 10 a.m. It's a big concept. You can go to ripstereducation.com. I cover this, this concept in detail. I have covered this 10 a.m. concept in detail in my previous YouTube recaps as well. But you can go to Ripster Education and you can, this is a repeatable setup which makes us a lot of money and helps us save our money as well. We always use that concept. So anyways, see, we were short. You can see my guidance, a lot of my guidance on the voice. So people know that Rip is saying it's short. They look at the chart and they short scalp it, right? But I said, be ready to the cover, right? Because we are going into 1 hour. And I tell them watch 21. So I told everybody to VIX watch 21. So watch 21. So I said that in the morning as well, that we have to watch that 21 level on VIX because it's 10 a.m. There are two things, right? It's 10 a.m. coming right here. What do we watch? 10 a.m. coming. 10 a.m. you already see some reversals or rejections. And then there is VIX is going to 21. So you see, everything is coming together, which tells you there's a probability of a bounce. So that's why we are covering our shorts here, and then we're ready for the bounce. I personally never teach trying to find the bottom. I do teach that go long once you have confirmation. Go long here, right at 512s, and you trade into the long into that the pre-market highs. So that was a long trade. But you can clearly see the 10 a.m. gives us a reversal if you trade here. And also there's MTF clouds. There's 1 hour Ripster clouds right here, 1 hour 3450 EMAs. So we know we are going to that support and we can bounce. And guess what? We bounce, almost $4 from there. And even if we took the longs at 533, we got $2 long on both SPY and QQQ, and even more on QQQs. And that's when a lot of our long setups started to work. And I told everyone, do not touch anything on this flush. And there are a lot of shorts on that. Tesla was a good short on this flush because this is the market, right? If market is dumping, the Meg 7 are going to, going to be dumping. So that first half an hour gives you a lot of opportunities to short, right? And you can't keep adding here because if you're adding at 10 a.m., you're about to lose a lot of money because you're going to get squeezed right into your face because you're not respecting the 10 a.m. rule and you're not respecting that VIX is at 21. And of course, there's a daily EMA cloud right there, and which is a big resistance. Now, once you see VIX fading, then you can take long. I do not recommend taking this long, but in this case, we had a B- setup. We had a conviction that VIX is breaking 20. As soon as VIX breaks 20, then we push higher into pre-market highs. And that's when a lot of our longs were working. And when it came back here, 512s, we cut. We were out. After that, there was no trade on SPY QQQ. Short, long, red, this red candle, back to the chop, no trade. And if you see, all day we were just chopping. We were all chopping. And I mean, you could short scalp this. I'm not interested in these short scalps. This tight move. I'm not interested there, right? We were definitely watching for end of the day because VIX was making a cup and handle, and then it went from here to here. So, and if you see here, if you look at even my tweets, right? Even if you're not in community, I try to guide my followers as well. When I told that SPY is starting day heavy, and let's see if 10 a.m. holds, and you see that it's heavy, right? This breakdown, and it was heavy, nice flush. And I told everybody that it's even on my Twitter followers that we're bearish across the board. VIX 21 test incoming. Watch the VIX rejections or the market hold the 10 a.m. trend time. So watch that, right? So 21 test, 10 a.m. trend time, 21 test and 10 a.m. trend time. So everything, not only in the community, even on Twitter X, I told the followers, to watch these setups. And if you followed that, you could make the money on the short and you could get long as well. You could navigate the market flawlessly, right? You could navigate the market flawlessly, right? So that's a great concept, right? The 10 a.m. concept that I teach. And in this case, you could combine the 10 a.m. concept with the VIX concept, which really helped us to make a lot of good trades short. And then we'll talk about our longs as well that worked on that bounce, especially for SMCI. Let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to look at is SMCI. Let's see. Let's go back to SMCI. See if we can show you that. Okay, let's look at SMCI here. So SMCI was a very confident, even though, I kind of mismanaged a little at the open, but overall it was a very confident play. And let's see how we managed it. Let's see if I can show you here. So look at that. So let's first go look at our levels on SMCI, right? There are a few things to watch here. So SMCI, every day we have levels. 510 was a big breakout, and 514 was a big breakout, and 503 and 507 were our support levels, right? So we were breaking out of those levels. We already broke out of that 514 level. But something to note here is this 1 hour EMA cloud. So this is 1 hour 3450 EMA cloud. So 1 hour is pushing over 50 EMA. I teach you guys often the importance of the 50 EMA, right? So that gave me a really good confidence. I was actually, I did a starter, decent amount of calls on my starter size, but the market was weak. So I had to manage the risk. I cut my starters just to manage the risk. But SMCI was just so strong. It never even broke the clouds, right? That's why you have to respect the system. I didn't respect the system because I just wanted to manage my risk. But of course, we made it back. We'll show you how. But the point is, when market is heavy, you just have to manage your risk, maybe reduce the size or cut and get back in. But regardless, you can see I was starter long. I already told everybody I'm starter long. And when it was pulling little back, I cut it just to manage the risk. Although we're not supposed to cut it because it's still over the MTF cloud. It's still over our breakout pivot. It's still over the 512s, right? It's holding the trend. You clearly see this holding trend. So a lot of traders held. When I initially mentioned it, they held, and they did even much better because they had those calls on SMCI. Anyways, I cut starters, but when I held it bouncing back, I added the shares back, right? I added shares back at 522 price, and I added them back. And then then market started to bounce at 10 a.m. You see this bounce at 10 a.m. and that helped SMCI. And after that, we were looking for our targets. So I gave the next target 535. Then I gave next target 550. Next target 555. My final target was 560. We met all the targets. So starting from even you added at 525. Let's say you didn't add in the morning with when I first talked about. Let's say you added later when I said it's confirmed the bullish bias, right? So when it confirmed the bullish bias right here, when I said that, because it's pushing over the MTF clouds, even with that, you can see how the community did, just to show how people are executing themselves. People are making 200%. Ghetto Trader made 500%. Probably he was on that call, and since the morning. Deborah made 300%. Salim made 100%. Everybody executing, just not because I am saying or I'm alerting, I'm guiding, but they know what I'm saying. They know what is the system. So that was the beauty. So that was the real beauty of this setup today. And where the confidence came from: the MTF clouds, the 50 EMA, the Ripster clouds, and the levels. Yes, if the market was not weak, maybe I would have had an even bigger win, but that's fine. We respect our risk, and we manage the trade, and we are not scared to get back in. So that's how we got this big huge win on SMCI. We were mostly done on SMCI on that beautiful trade. I had almost I think 1,000 shares on that, and really did good from 522s all the way to 550s, and a little more into 560s. So beautiful day, guys. Definitely a great day trading SMCI today. You can see my timestamped live guidance, and we also had the levels, and I just explained you why this setup was so strong. And there was no setup day before yesterday, before that, even yesterday, but today was the setup because SMCI was getting over 1 hour clouds. If you are in doubt, always look at the 1 hour chart, then you will have a better confidence, right? So these are the setups, guys. Repeatable setup, not random. Something has to show you that's a high conviction repeatable setup, and that's how you long. And that's how we got that that $40 move on SMCI for a big win. All right, the next one we're going to look at is Starbucks. So let's see what Starbucks, how did we trade Starbucks? Or of course the market puked later, but in the morning Starbucks was a nice long. Let's look at our game plan. So Starbucks, support was 1776.70, resistance was 77.80. There was some gap fill under 76.70, but long over that level, right? So I told people that there can be some gap fill. And what happened, right? It tried to fill some gap, right? It tried to fill some gap. No, sorry, it already dipped there here, and then it reclaimed. You look what level I gave, 76.70, right? So it reclaimed that level, and then it gets bullish right here. That's where you get long, and that's from 77 long. My target was 878. We could never break this pre-market highs, but still we got like a dollar move on Starbucks here, right? So you can see I told everybody it's okay to long versus clouds. 941, that's when I told everyone, and it was a nicer dollar trade. 78.50 was my next target. We were almost close. We hit 78.40, and then it breaks 512. You get out, just get out, right? That's fine. We didn't get a big huge runner, but we still got a nice push, right? If you had 1,000 shares and you risked, let's say you risked $300, you still made $1,000 because your risk was right under the clouds here. So that was Starbucks winning trade in the community. So let's look at the next one. Next one we're going to look at is Mara. So Mara was, let's go back to our game plan, this pre-market. So Mara, this pre-market, the game plan was, let's see where it was. Let me see. Yeah, right here. Mara does a 250 million convertible notes offering. Whenever they do convertible notes, it's usually most likely it's heavy and it sells off, right? Because convertible notes offering and for so much like $250 million, that's a lot, right? So it's usually heavy. Support was 1620, resistance was 1680. I told everyone bearish buys to short the pops, no short over the clouds, but it never gave a pop. When Mara opened, it never gave the pop. And when I saw that, then I told everybody right away, Mara short, and from $16 short, Mara gave a $1, $1 trade for us. I didn't trade the options. I don't know how they moved, but you're risking let's say you're $1,000 short, you're risking 20-30 cents, and you're making $1. That's a $300 risk, and you make $1,000. That's a good risk reward. It flushes a little, you cover half and leave the rest, and you cover more at $15, and then you are all out. It did actually fade end of the day as well. If somebody wanted the end of the day fade setups, I did not. I was done with it in the morning. So Mara was an easy shorts winner today. So let's look at next one. So next one today for us was was gold. So gold had a news. So let's go back and look at our game plan. What was our game plan this morning? Gold has it's Gold Corporation. It's not actually gold, but yeah, it's the company that gold dependent. So it beat the estimates. EPS was good, sales was good, bullish to neutral as long as clouds hold. And as soon as market opened and I saw gold being strong, right? When it's breaking out of my pivot levels that I gave in the morning, I know it's a really good trade. It's a good long. That's when I told everybody gold long versus 17.70, right? And by end of the day we got $19, right? I closed everything on this flush, but I guess it's gonna probably pushes more tomorrow. Gold, Barrick Gold Corporation, very stress-free trade, really did good on this trade. Had a good entry and made a decent profits on this trade on gold. You can see the timestamped guidance, 19 target, we met it. Beautiful. 30-cent risk, by the way. Right here, the risk was just 30 cents. So the next one we're going to look at is Shop, which was our loser. I saw a lot of flow on Shop at the open, and you know, after the amateur move, it did not really do anything. So we had the pullbacks at 69.40s, and then it breaks the cloud. You just get out and take a 40-cent or 50-cent loss and move on. So this was a loser today. You can see the timestamp guidance here. I gave the risk of 69. That did not work. Small loser, move on. All right, so next one you're going to look at is Tesla. So why I'm talking about Tesla today is, I personally did not short Tesla, but I saved a lot of people in the community from going long. And it was a lot of people did trade Tesla short. If I can show you here what was going on with Tesla. Tesla, you see 198.75 is support, 199 to 86 was another support. You see right away it's dropping under the clouds. When it does that, there is no long. You look at the clouds, what the stock is doing versus 3450 clouds. It's breaking 3450 clouds. It's breaking MTF clouds, 1 hour cloud. There is no long. When the stock is doing that, there is no long. Save your money. And a lot of traders shorted it, and of course, as per my system, you can short it, and actually market flushed, and it gave much better short, right? So if you look at my support levels, what I gave on Tesla was let's see 199.86. Once it's under that 200 or this 199 level, you could easily make $4 per share short on Tesla. That was a trade, or you should not long and save your money, right? But anyways, that was a Tesla short trade for us in the community. All right, that's one we're going to look at is NVDA, right? So NVIDIA was also getting flow. It was similar to SMCI, and if I show you my levels on NVIDIA from the pre-market, you can see that the levels were 106.13 and then was 106.60. There were two levels, 106.13, then there was 106.60. So 106.13 and 106.60, and once it broke that level, it was a long. Even though market was kind of little heavy, but there was a lot of an option flow coming in on NVIDIA. That's why it gave a little more confidence. And once the market started to bounce, right here, that, right, where market bounced at 10 a.m., that gives you added confidence, and you can add back or you can hold it. It's a similar to SMCI setup. And I was just giving the targets to everyone, that 110 and 111.50. Those are two target I gave. We met our 110 target, we met our 111 target, but we could not meet our 11.50 target because the market became heavy and came back. But NVIDIA was a nice long winner. It was mostly because of the option flow, and once it breaks out of here, it was a good long. So the next one we're going to watch is ASND. ASND was a beautiful trade in the community today. It was, if I go back and show you the game plan, the game plan on ASND was pretty straightforward. FDA approval for the drug. I told only long if 138 holds. You can see what levels I gave, 138, 137, 142. So as soon as I saw the price is already breaking down 138, it's a short here. It's short right here. 512 EMA clouds are breaking down. It's a short right there. And even if you don't get that entry, you wait for a little bounce. Even if you get 136 entry, you put a $2 risk, and then it goes to 131. You make almost $5 here, and then it hits the MTF clouds, and you make a couple more dollars there. So you see that it's almost a $7 short, from the pre-market planning. So, and it was a gap fill. You can see my timestamp guidance here. Gap fill short, filling the gap. So that was a nice, $6 to $7 short, right? And then it curled. Then there was midday. There was this curl setup, which I talked to. There was alerts on curl that was going. Let's see here. You see that 512 curls that was coming right here. Then it pushed from that curl. Most of my community knows this setup, and then it pushed to 133 and 40s, and there was an upgrade as well, so that curl kind of worked on that as well. But the main trade was the short. The curls are always B minus, but still there was a lot of money to be made to the downside and some upside, and then market became heavy and it pushed back. All right, so next one I'm going to look at is Costco. So Costco again was on our game plan. Let's go back to our game plan. On our game plan, the BMO raised its profit target or price target to 950. So bullish bias, that was the plan. I already had bias. 852 was support, 853 area, 858 was resistance. And as soon as Costco started to break out of that resistance, and you see that it was not an amateur setup, it was a 3450 pullback setup. And this Costco was, all call outs by the community, but so you can see here, HP Trade was calling it out, Honit was calling it out, Slaughter was on top of it, Vinod was on top of it. And you know why? Because they noticed that once it's pulled to 3450 clouds, it held the clouds, right? It held the clouds, and then it breaks out of the pivots. And this is your risk area. Long anywhere, this is your risk area. You're risk longing at 55, you're risking like $3, you're longing here, you're risking $4. But look here, it went to 870. You made almost from 856, 857, you almost made 12, $13. So that was a great trade in the community, and love the community callouts on our trading floor. So many good traders always calling out the trade ideas. All right, let's look at the next one. Next one was another loser. It was Nike. Nike was looking strong in the morning, so that's why I told the community that we can long that, but versus the MTF, but it pulled right back and right back. It was a 50-cent loser, so I had to get out. So you can see the difference, right? Not holding the cloud, there's no long. It did bounce later, but I didn't even try that. On this one, I did tell everybody to, a lot of people were still holding, so I told them to use the 74 risk level. You see that 74 risk level, and it kind of bounced for 74 for a lot of them, but I was out because when it broke here. So anyways, that was a loser. We don't want to, not interested in these moves, but if you watch the 74, it did bounce for a lot of people from 74. That's why I gave that 74 stop. So there was enough time to get out here. So another stock that was really strong this morning was MU. So MU was on our game plan. Let's look at our game plan. So MU was, what was the plan? The profit target was lowered. I told everybody long if clouds hold. 93.40, 94.20 were two levels. And once it started to push over 94.20, it was a confirmed long. Once it bound from the MTF clouds, it was a confirmed long. And Micron, we did the same thing, right? Same thing, right? So I told everybody versus the cloud long, that was at 10 a.m. It went on to push to 96.53. Beautiful winner in the community as well, Micron. All right, guys. Now we're gonna look at one of our low float winners in the community. That was GNLN. This was on our low float watch list. Let's go back and take a look. What was our plan on the low floats? So GNLN just had 529,000 float. It's a super micro float, right? Some support levels we had put in the pre-market were let's look here. Let's see, 650, right? So in the pre-market level, I gave 650, and if you see that, it never broke that level and it held the cloud, and this was a midday setup. And once it was breaking out of here, that's this area, that's when I told everybody watch out the breakout. Out of 9, your risk is $1. It went on all the way to $20, right? I can show you it's better if I show you some screenshots, easier to show you the full plan. This is again repeatable low float setups. This is a repeatable low float setups from my low float webinars, but you can also go learn for free on my Ripster education website. These are the low float setups which are really you can make good money with good refined risk reward. For example, we had when I first added GNLN, because I saw this setup right here at the 9, my risk was nothing. It was 70-80 cents. I could risk this area, maybe $1, but I was able to make $6, $7, $8, risking $1. That's a good risk reward, right? So you can see my timestamp guidance as well. I saw that it was not breaking down. 9 is a breakout. Seller is at 920, and watch versus 9. Great setup. And my traders in the community already know how to play this setup. And this was the setup actually. You can see here. This is from my webinar that I covered, my PowerPoint slide. Exactly my setup is what worked out. You could see in this case, we never really even touched the 3450. We were doing it right here, and boom, breakout. And I gave the 15 targets, 18 targets. I gave a bunch of targets. All of our targets met. And, in the community was a great trade in the community today. GNLN, really nice job by a lot of traders in the community on GNLN. Everything, all the target met. And I think they did do the offering later in the day, but we were already out by then. That's why I list the offering. I always list on my low float plays what are the chances of offering. On this one, it was low to high. And of course, after the stock goes from $2 to $20, they're for sure they're gonna do an offering. They want to make sure they make money on it. But it's on up to us that where do we enter, right? If somebody's entering right here, that's a high risk entry. So that we don't do. We do where we have low risk entry, and you could trade this flag as well, but then you have to put your stops right at this flag. So anyways, this is how you trade the low floats. Beautiful winner. Showed you the timestamp guidance as well. And you can see in our community, I have this price alerts go in, which, set up and show us a big winner there. All right, let's look at some more setups here. Let's look at, I just want to recap a few more low floats from today. Let's see if I can show you guys a little more low floats here. So OGEN was another one. PSIG was another one. Let's see what they did. So OGEN went. OGEN also, went right away. Held the Ripster clouds. Held the Ripster clouds. Went all day again, right? So this was what was our support? 137 was support, and you can see that it held 137 to the point, right? You see that to the point we held that 137. All you have to do is use the clouds to trade, and I think we were discussing OGEN in community as well. Really nice trade. And let's look at the next one. And anything that's under cloud, we are not interested. Maybe we shorted, but we are looking for something which is giving us good risk reward. A midday setup, a morning setup, they're all repeatable setup. If you look at PSIG, the support was 140, resistance was 160, and you can see where it's bouncing from. 140, reclaim the cloud. This is again one of my repeatable setup. Morning 34.50 call, went on from $1.53 all the way to $2.50, right? You're risking what? You're risking here. What are you risking? You're risking 20-30 cents and you're making $1. That's a huge risk reward winner, right? So anyways, these were the last two low float winners. Great day in the community. Everybody executed with confidence, repeatable setups. If you want to trade with us, join the community, feel free to join. Do not come for alerts. Do not come for blind alerts. Come for guidance, consistency. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.